Welcome back to DVC Weekly. This is episode 78. My name is Jason Rippling. I'm the broker of Buy and Sell DVC. As always, I'm here with Scott Ferrioli.
I'm the owner of DVC-Rental.com and BuyandSellDVC.com.
And we are already to August 3rd, 2022. So your 11-month window is going to be July 3rd, 2023. And the 7-month window is March 3rd, 2023. As always, you can find DVC-Rental at DVC-Rental.com. Remember the dash to save the cash. And Buy and Sell at BuyandSellDVC.com. We do have a Facebook group, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. So be sure and find your favorite means of social media and follow us there. And today we're going to start with Buy and Sell DVC. And I'm going to go into something that may be a little complicated, but we'll see. But it is starting to become more and more of a trend with members, DVC member. A lot of people, I will tell you, that are already DVC members, once they discover resale, they keep buying their points resale. And they keep buying. So a lot of transactions on the resale side is somebody that's already a DVC member. And one thing that you can do, if you're buying a property, and I'm going to use just a regular 200-point property with the June use year, points are coming 6/1/22. There's no banked points in the account. There's no hold points. There's no borrow points. It's just a regular, clean property. We have buyers who, because it does take about 6 to 8 weeks to close a transaction, and it takes roughly 17 to 20 days for Disney to load those points into your account. Well, sometimes, buyers are looking to make a certain reservation, and that property that they're buying resale, they need access to those points quickly. So what they do is, are you with me so far?
I'm
okay.
Waiting.
So let's just say Scott is the seller. He owns 200 points. Saratoga Springs, June use year, 200 points coming 6/1/22. I'm the buyer. So negotiation goes back and forth, buyer and seller. They agree to terms on the purchase price, closing costs, dues, but the buyer wants the seller to transfer the 2022 points into the account of the buyer. And again, I will tell you the timing of that is there's a certain timing to that, so it protects the seller and it protects the buyer. The buyer has to put down an additional deposit in case he doesn't complete the transaction in the end. That's to protect the seller. But basically, they say, okay, I agree to the terms, but I want you to transfer these points to my account so that I have access to them. I don't have to wait, say, maybe 11, 12 weeks until they're in my account. So here's another thing is the seller can't have done a transfer you're only allowed one transfer in and one transfer out per use year. So they can't have done a transfer. The buyer, and either if they only have one account or multiple accounts, they have to have an account that enables them to do a transfer. So then the seller there's gonna have to be a three-way call between the buyer, the seller, and Disney. And you're gonna transfer the points from the seller's account to the buyer's account. Now, one thing I want to make sure is when you get a transfer of points, they do not show up online.
They sometimes do. A lot of times it depends. In the past, they never did. Sometimes I think they will maybe show up sometimes online, but they can't be used directly. Yeah, they show up on your vacation points,
that they
but
show
not your
up
dashboard.
Online. Yeah, we've done a lot of transactions, and I tell the buyer, I'm like,
don't expect it.
Right, because you're going to be on the phone listening to the conversation. Seller transfer X points from this account to this account. So you're going to hear the transfer take place. You're going to know it took place. Yeah. But you may not see the points. I will tell you, lately these buyers are not seeing them online. I'm like, you're not going to see them online. Call back and say, hey, do I have these points in my account? And then you're
Yeah, well, I think they show up under vacation points, but not under like your details. So it's trickier. It's definitely trickier.
So, but regardless, the points are transferred into your account, and so now this buyer has those points. And again, the transaction is protected. If the buyer were to not finish their transaction, trust me, there's the deposit, everything's in place for the seller to get the funds. They're not giving away the points for free or anything. And what this also does, number one, it can help with right of first refusal because in the clause about the points are not there. So there's an additional addendum in regards to that. And also usually, like the buyer's paying the dues, so it shows you're paying the dues. It can help with right of first refusal. And the other thing it really helps that buyers like is it really incentivizes the seller to move faster. Now, most sellers already do move pretty quick, but keep in mind, when the final documents are issued to the buyer, a buyer can just simply sign the documents electronically and they can wire in the funds. They're done, and they're done within an hour. Yeah. But a seller has to print the documents, has to, if there's two people on the deed, they have to schedule to see a notary, and they have to get their documents witnessed and then sent in. So buyers like this, number one, there's a lot of different reasons. Again, you get access to the points basically within 12 days of purchasing. There's not going to be any issue with the points not being correct because they can't touch the 2024 points or the 2023 points. So you got your points, and it creates urgency for the seller to get the final documents back quicker. Now, also what's going on, this is just an added bonus. Mm-hmm. Because if it gets bought back, you still get the same funds regardless, whether you transfer the points or not.
As the seller.
As the seller. But if the property is bought back, you as the buyer get 100% refund of your deposit and all money's on the transaction, but you keep the transfer of points. It's like we just had one where the buyer got 211 transferred points from 2022 and the property was bought back. So that buyer keeps those 211 points. So, now transactions like these are not common. They're more common now. So sometimes that's going to happen where the buyer does get free points. But of course, you don't want to come into a situation where you want to rely on that every year to get the free points, but it definitely does happen. So hopefully that all makes sense. And if you are a buyer, because usually how this happens is a buyer is interested in purchasing more points. They ask the question, they say, I need more points, but I also need this reservation and they give a time frame of something that's 6 to 8 months away. Well, that would mean that the closing would have to be delayed. If the seller were to make a reservation for the buyer, the closing is now delayed until that checkout date. Well, majority of the time, the seller has no interest in waiting that long to close on a property. Yeah. So when that question comes, that's where this scenario comes up. Okay, you're already a member. Have you had a transfer? Would you be interested in this? Then it's explained. Then you go to the seller, see if they're going to come to agreement on terms, explain to the seller what's going to happen. And that's how these transactions typically take place. Now, sometimes it also just takes place more frequently now because you have Disney buying back more properties. So some buyers are taking the risk on doing this to see if they're going to get those free points if Disney's going to buy it back. Did that make sense? Did I lose the audience? Or
I think they've got it. I know. Okay. I followed it.
Okay. So if you're a member and you want to know how to get access to the points, pretty soon when you're buying resale, just, you can send me an email. I watched this episode 78. Can you send me some details on that? Or can you give me an idea of which listings this could possibly work for? And again, my email is jason@buyandsell.dvc.com. And now we're going to go into the food review of the week.
Ty, roll the tape.
Come here, I'm going to eat you. Get in my belly.
So some people ask me, Scott, what's the worst thing you've ever eaten on Disney property? And apparently I'm here to tell you today So in Disneyland, we went to the Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe, which we went to once. I had a couple things on my list I wanted to try, and we tried 2 of them, and I would have tried more had we gone back, but we weren't able to make it back. The first thing we tried was the Matterhorn Macaroon. So this is loosely shaped after the Matterhorn ride, which is the one of the roller coasters inside Disneyland. It's $3.49, which is a great deal for a snack. You know, Disney's prices are always a little on the high side. This was the most dense piece of shaved coconut I've ever had. They give you, the little plastic knives and stuff. I was using, holding it and pushing on the top and trying to cut through this, and it was hard to cut through. It was so dense. Has white chocolate on top. This thing was absolutely terrible. I mean, if this was 50 cents at the parks, I would not buy this again. And I've never said that about anything. We threw away 75% of this. Like, it wasn't even worth it. We joke around other groups, hashtag thrifty. I finished my food. I'm a bigger guy. We just tossed this because it wasn't even worth it. I give this a 2.1. I mean, it didn't make us ill.
Wait, is it a negative 2?
It's not negative. That's just a dash to break it up. This gets a 2.1 out of 10. Again, it wasn't disgusting. Didn't make me sick. It was just not good and dense, and just like I took one bite and I was like, I don't want to keep going.
All right, let's not stay on this too long. Let's go on right away to the DVC-Rental side of things. See if we can get some good news here from Scott.
Well, we had a really amazing time at Disneyland, and it honestly makes me want to go back more often. We stayed off-site. In the past, I've stayed at Grand Californian. We walked through Grand Californian several times during this trip, and it's just an absolutely beautiful resort, and it's got fantastic location. It's got a back entrance into California Adventure Park, or you could pop out another entrance and you're right in downtown Disney with access to California Adventure or Disneyland or downtown Disney. Sorry. The prices are high on Grand Californian. I mean, typically, recently, you're looking at maybe low 300s, high 200s per point. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen to you as well. What's going to happen with these new Disneyland towers that they're building at Disneyland Hotel? Is it going to be $300+ a point? Is it going to bring down the Grand Californian points a little bit? On the resale market. Again, Disneyland Hotel, we stayed there about 8 or 9 years ago. That's right across the street from downtown Disney. So it's not as close as Grand Californian, but it's right there, right by downtown Disney. So if you leave the hotel, you could probably be in one of the parks in 4 to 5 minutes worth of walking time. And that walking time is through downtown Disney, so it's a pleasant walk. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going to happen with Grand Californian and what's going to happen with these new tower resort in Disneyland. They're taking part of the resort of Disneyland Hotel, and they're putting towers there. That's going to be designated as a tower. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going to happen. Should I be buying this? I really enjoyed going to Disneyland. I'm just trying to figure out what their pricing is going to be, what the Grand Californian pricing is going to have,
and really what the demand's going to be.
What the demand's going to be, because right now there's only 60 rooms at Grand Californian that are DVC rooms. So there's going to be more at this tower. What's the demand going to be like? What's the pricing going to be like? What's Grand Californian's pricing going to react like on the resale market once it does go live? It's just lots of questions, and with just staying there and having such a good time, I've got my eyes on it. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going to happen and what it's going to look like. Because
when Grand California opened, it wasn't received like everybody has to own this.
Really?
It went through a phase where, because the people in Florida or the people that vacation in Florida seem to be more aware of timeshares, vacation ownership, those things. So
I gotta say, after being down there, I barely saw any Disney Vacation Club stands in the parks. I remember specifically seeing one and it was unmanned the whole time we were there. There was nobody trying to get you to take the tours, I guess maybe because they're not selling it. So it was just an empty Disney Vacation Club stand with nothing going on.
So when Grand California opened and you had, it took a while to get going. And I don't remember what year it was, but then once it got going, then it just went crazy. Like, it went crazy. And then, of course, when you had the peak of demand, say, summer of 2021, it was still those listings would come in and then they would sell. And I mean, we had a small point listing. It was like an odd amount. Like, I don't think it was 25 points. I feel like it was like 33 points or something. Yeah. And it sold for like $333 a point.
I remember.
So
I remember it came in and I saw the price and I think I messaged you. I was like, is this right? And like, it sold that day. I was like, is somebody really going to pay this much for this? And it sold immediately.
And then that was a time when it didn't matter what the listing was. Like, if it didn't have any points coming for a couple of years, or, the listings were, and of course, a lot of the listings were selling like that, whether Grand California, Disney World. But now, everything, like even like the housing market's kind of, it's taking a little bit of a dip. And, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like when because I don't remember when the Disneyland towers are supposed to open.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's 2024, maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
It will be interesting to see what, because there are some people that are talking about how, they think it's just it's going to sell out without even going to the public. It's only going to be, members get first choice and that's going to sell out.
Really?
Now, I don't,
okay.
But of course that could be just, sales talk. I don't know. But
that's interesting. Very interesting. We'll have to see.
So I don't know if I cut you off there. If there's more you wanted to say.
No, that was basically it. It's just enjoyed it, and I was thinking, back and forth about how expensive Grand Californian is, but then they're going to open this up, and what's going to happen, and just at what price is that going to be? Because again, right now they're not even selling Disney Grand Californian direct. So what is this new one to be priced at? How is it going to affect the resale market on the Grand Californian side? It opened up a little can of worms. So
right.
I appreciate you jumping in and
right.
assisting.
Plus, it'll be interesting to see what the rules are.
Yeah.
Like if they try to say, okay, Disneyland Tower is going to be like Riviera. I really don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
But
they haven't done it so far, but we'll see. Interesting.
So we hope you enjoyed, and remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and come back and see us next week.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.